Joining us on the radio broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, he is the head coach of our Greenville Swamp Rabbits, the hockey team in the upstate. He is the head coach, Kyle Mountain, joining us here on the show. Coach, my man, welcome back. Good to have you, brother. How are we feeling?
Good. I was waiting for the goal horn. That was nice. That was very well done. So, yeah, I'm good. All good here.
Coach,
thanks for having me.
Accountability and coachability are the two most important abilities. You asked for it. You get it. I follow instructions. We're good here, man.
I love it. Really setting the tone.
Here we go. All right, let's talk a little hockey here, Coach. And I want to take you back to the rollover, the end of 2024. A couple of losses to Jacksonville, an unfortunate loss on New Year's Eve. Then we turn around, roll the calendar over into January, start with back-to-back 5-goal wins over Orlando and Jacksonville. Turn around and give those both back on the road on the 7th and 8th. Feels to me like this team is absolutely up and down. And obviously you've got to deal with players getting called up to Ontario and sent back down, new guys rotating in to fill in the roster spots, etc. Just kind of walk me through the ups and downs of the last couple of weeks for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits.
Yeah, definitely, fair assessment as far as just kind of where we're at. And, I think for right now, our group, the goal is just to find our stride and find our consistency. We've certainly shown that we can play at a really high level. We can be really competitive and beat anybody, in our division, in our league. So finding that consistency has been kind of the goal here. And so it was good to start that road trip on a really good foot, get some really good road wins, against good teams in tough buildings, hard places to play. So, and look, I mean, it's like you said, there's a lot of variability. There's a lot of things that change on a day-to-day basis. So obviously, for us as a staff, keeps us on our toes for sure, keeps the players on their toes. And, ultimately every team kind of goes through that in one way or another. So whether it's injuries, whether it's call-ups, whatever it might be, every team's got their things that they have to deal with. So for us, it's just being able, regardless of kind of, circumstances, what's going on with our roster, anything like that, we still need to, be able to show up and play a certain way, when the time calls for it. So I think for us, just finding that consistency, finding that rhythm is really the goal now. And once we hit that, we're going to be in really good shape.
Kyle Mountain, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. How do you find that stride, Coach? I mean, listen, I don't think it's any shock that some of the boys in the locker room are probably a little bit disappointed with some of the results that we found. And it's obviously your job as the head coach to be able to walk them through that, keep the head screwed on the right way and looking forward. Still a lot of hockey. We just crossed the halfway point. A lot of hockey left to be played. How are those conversations going to make sure that the guys that are on the roster, especially the ones that are going to be sticking with you for the majority of the games, kind of keep pushing forward for better results moving forward?
Yeah, I think, to not lose sight of kind of the end goal, and not get too caught up in the day-to-day or a result on, a particular game. Like, I think you've got to just keep that big picture in mind of how do we continue to play better and better hockey as the year goes on. So, you can play great and lose. You can play poorly and win. So I don't think it's wise to get too caught up in kind of the short term or certain, results from a game. So for us, it's just maintaining our focus day to day. What do we have to accomplish on a daily basis? What do we need to bring to the rink every single day in order to ensure that, February, March, April, we are playing our best hockey? And so I think, for the guys, obviously that's challenging. These guys are competitive. They want to win. We all want to win. So there are disappointments. But again, you can't let that detract from what you're trying to do in the big picture. So I think, we're going to just continue to build and that comes individually with guys and that comes collectively as a team. So working with each guy on what they need to do to continue to improve, continue to develop. And then as the team, from the team perspective, it's just how do we keep climbing? How do we keep continuing to just build this, so that we're playing, come playoff time, we want to be playing our best hockey. So I think it's just maintaining that focus, and making sure that we don't get too caught up or too emotional, too frustrated when things don't go our way. It's just, continue to keep our heads down and go to work every day.
Obviously, Coach, this level of hockey is designed as much to be about player development and progression as it is to be about wins and losses and playoff appearances and Kelly Cups and whatnot. How are you balancing that right now between making sure you are giving the guys that need ice time to get better and sharpen the skills, but also make sure that Greenville, South Carolina is seeing some dubs go up on the board?
Yeah, I think that's always a balance that you have to find, that you have to try to strike. And so a lot of that development work, outside the games, I mean, it's kind of how we build our practices, how we build our training every single day. So I think that, regardless of what a game might bring you in terms of personnel and how you're using guys and what situations you're putting guys in, we really try to utilize every minute that we have, during practice and during training to keep on guys as far as their development. So there's a lot of ways outside just playing, in the games that guys can get to work and get a lot done, be it in practice, individual work, video, meetings, things like that, and off-ice training. So we try to be as comprehensive as possible in our approach so that, we want guys the opportunity to go play and, grow through game experience, but there's a lot of other tools that we can use as well. So I think just trying to take advantage of all those opportunities and make sure we're, getting as in-depth as we need to with each guy and not leaving any stone unturned when it comes to them developing and getting better. So we really try to just hit it from all sides and make sure guys are getting what they need in terms of growth and development.
When this team, which we've seen, kind of off and on throughout the season, Coach, goes on these little streaks, string together 3, 4, 5 wins here, put together 2, 3 losses there. How do you as the head coach maintain consistency but still tinker with the lineups, tinker with ice time, tinker with different shifts and rotations and whatnot? Is there a formula to that for you, or is this something that you're kind of feeling out player by player based on who's feeling hot and who's not? How do you handle those little strategy changes based on the runs of success or failure that the team is having?
Yeah, it's definitely a feel. There's no kind of one method or, one kind of trick to cure it. It's certainly game by game, it's day by day. And I've got a really good staff and support system around me, and we spend a lot of time and energy trying to figure out, what levers do you pull and what changes do you make? And, who's really playing well and, what guys are not quite where they need to be and what do we need to do to get them there? Those are always, those are daily conversations that we have. So, when it's going good, when you have momentum, you just want to fight as hard as you can to keep it, and continue on that trend. And then when it's not, you've got to reevaluate a little bit and not necessarily overhaul everything, but, what little changes do we need to make? And sometimes it's, it is a personnel thing. Sometimes it's, how we build our practices. Sometimes it's, what area of focus are we currently on right now, and do we need to change that? So I think that all those questions are fair questions on a daily basis, and so it's just trying to figure out, the best method. And then, the ideal situation is you do make a couple tweaks, it clicks, and then you kind of get that momentum back. So, it's always just kind of that, ability to reevaluate and adapt to a current situation. And I think, the ability to do that will allow you to kind of get out of those situations where if things aren't going quite the way you want them to. You can make a couple changes here and there and then, kind of get back on track.
Adaptability, Coach, is another one of those abilities that we were talking about earlier in the show, and you guys had to adapt a little bit. Was supposed to be a 3-game homestand this past weekend, but the winter weather rolling through on Friday evening canceled postponed the Friday and Saturday night game. So it ended up being a 1-game stand on Sunday. You play again back at the house on Friday night against South Carolina, then 2 on the road against Atlanta and South Carolina. Kind of wrinkling the plans. Probably not the worst thing in the world to have a couple of days off while you are at home in Greenville. But what was that process like, especially when we all kind of got the news in the 11th hour these games were being postponed? What went into that for you? How did you as a head coach handle that? How did the team handle it moving into a Friday nighter against South Carolina, coming off a Sunday game that had 2 games postponed right ahead of it?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah, and obviously we talked kind of throughout that entire day, just talking with our team president, Tim Vieira, and just, trying to weigh kind of the different options and what was coming as far as the storm. And obviously a lot of things to consider: the road team travel, fan travel, arena employees, and, obviously weighing those risks of having them travel. So ultimately, I think, the right decision was made with kind of pushing those games. And yeah, for us as a team, I mean, we were coming off of a long week-long road trip, and, we were looking kind of down the barrel of a 5-6, which is very challenging for any team, just in terms of the fatigue factor. So, I do think ultimately it wasn't the worst thing in the world to get a couple days, like you said, to reset. And, guys were back sleeping in their own beds and just being able to recover a little bit from a road trip. So, look, you just have to, like you said, just stay on your toes and adapt when needed. So I think the organization did a great job of, kind of making adjustments needed, filling in the schedule and postponing those dates to get, or those games to dates that, I think will really work out for them, and getting some more home games on the schedule, later in the season. But ultimately it's just, hey, you got to keep moving, and this was the plan, and sometimes things change. So the guys were great. They had no issue with the adjustments that were made, and I think ultimately is for the best.
Friday nighter, Coach, against South Carolina, big rival for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. And I know that, listen, we're all fans. We all want to see dubs, even if there is a little bit of a hiccup in the schedule as there was. How important is it for the boys, for the team, to have a full Bon Secours Wellness Arena on a Friday night when the South Carolina Stingrays come a-calling?
It's huge. I mean, especially down the stretch here, like you said, we're just about getting to the halfway point. So, the further you get into the season, just the more important every single point is. And, anytime, you've got a division opponent coming into the building, those are huge opportunities for us as the team. And we feed so much off the energy of the building and the fans, and just the overall noise and just the energy that they bring. So it should be a fun one. I mean, Friday night at the Well is always, the guys are always getting up for games like that. So I think we're excited to be back home again. We had a long road trip, the one game back home Sunday, but I think, this Friday night after a full week of practice and kind of, resetting and just getting into our routine for the week, it should be a really fun game, and the guys are going to be ready to go.
The Greenville Swamp Rabbits find themselves 10 points back behind South Carolina, some ground to make up, and an opportunity to do so this Friday at 7:05 at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena when the cross-state rival come a-calling. Coach Kyle Mountain joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Coach, my man, as always, appreciate the time. We will see you at the Well Friday night. Good luck, my man.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. Anytime. Head coach Kyle Mountain of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits.